Good evening, and welcome to Karl Marx Does the Washing Up,
where we ponder ludicrous metaphysical nonsense in the time it takes to make 5 Tesco's basic microwave meals.
which is around 21 minutes.
Yeah, indeed. I'm Ilyas and Shy.
I'm Shy Telly.
And today we're going to talk about love.
I like the way you said that.
Yeah.
Love. But anyway, it's the quintessential topic, and it's the topic that I don't even think we've discussed amongst ourselves. Because we're very quick to use the word love, but I don't think we've ever discussed what we mean by the word love.
Yeah, we only just refer to love in terms of I don't know.
Everything.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah, I love this tea, I love this chocolate, I love this house, I love this city, I love this girl, I love this girl. We're very quick to use the word love.
Yeah. So I'm less quick to use it when it comes to like girls or romantic relationships, unless it's so fleeting that I just have to say that I'm in love with it.
But I think as a poet, surely you'd be more inclined to use the word love than anything else.
Yeah, so I do, my poetry always has, this, I actually started using the word love a lot in my poetry. But it's not always, in reference to a romantic love. It's also maybe in reference... I basically write these poems where I can either say it's a poem to God or a woman, depending on the situation, whatever suits, right?
So what is love, though? So when you're using the word love, what are you trying to illustrate? Like a bond that's stronger than the usual bond, or something more grandiose, something that's unique between the two of you, be it you and God or you and this woman? So what are you using? What are you illustrating by the word love?
I don't know. For me, maybe unsurprisingly or surprisingly, I have a sort of ridiculous, esoteric, metaphysical definition of love.
Do tell.
Which is basically the same as everything else. I just see it as a synonym for space or something.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So it's just this omnipresent, energetic force that pervades us all.
Yeah.
And as humans, we've got to access this space. And so this is when we fall in love, we access this space. But love is, to me, this sort of it's we said before that time. Space is time is God, and time is the impermanence of space, right? And art is the becoming of time, right? So if we say art is the process, space is maybe the medium, God is the being or the ontology, then love is the color, right? So love is the color of God, essentially. That sounds so... It's very Bollywood. But
I feel like you need to elaborate more on that statement.
So
in the context that we use love, though.
Yeah, I just feel it's another word for... Okay, so basically the way I see it is that there's this kind of all-pervading energetic force, omnipresent, whatever, which is God. And so that's love. But... because it's so vast and we're so finite, the way in which we access it, because it requires so much of ourselves and we need to give so much energy in order to access this point, we do so in a directional manner in between individual beings. So me and you get into a state of deep love, and through this linear interaction, it allows us to blend, fall into the infinite space.
But you're implying that those people that don't get a chance to experience deep love can't access this infinite space.
No, I think you can. I think you can do it through things like meditation and stuff. You can get to that. But I think you kind of need both that finite and that infinite kind of relation to love in order to get to that deep totality of love.
And we're talking about, when you say the word deep love, what do you mean there?
I think it's all about the self, disillusion of the self, kind of losing yourself in another. And I think that's why they say you fall in love, right? Because it requires this descent, this humility. You fall into
another
love.
Person, right?
Into a space.
You deconstruct,
and that sort of space between us. So if we...
That's really beautiful, actually. It's a really beautiful sentiment. I never thought about it that way before.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess
You deconstruct, right? You fall and you deconstruct. But then what do you come up as?
What do you mean?
If you fall in love with another person and you fall into this space, who pulls you back together?
But why do you need to be back together? You don't need to have that autonomy.
But what about if you were to break up, for example, or you were to lose that deep love? Would you then leave would you then leave the infinite space?
I don't know. Like, you're still sort of, I think, bound to it, right?
But what about the deep love?
It's very hard to. But I think when you like break apart from somebody that you loved or whatever, the pain is not from the love. The pain is from the attachment. They're different things.
Yeah, that's true. But what about the love that, our parents have for us? Does that enable them to also access the infinite space?
I think it because all these like these sort of finite human relational loves require like just dissolution of the ego, and it requires this descent. It requires this humility, and that is the process that helps us to access that space. But then it's so hard because tied up in all of this comes the attachment and the stuff, and we start defining ourselves based on the other person.
Yeah, and our happiness sometimes comes from the other person.
Yeah. So at least that's how we see it.
Yeah, but for us people like us who find it quite hard to be humble or hard to have this disillusion of the ego, is that just because we haven't met the right person, or is that because we just don't know what love is? Or is that because we're just not looking for love?
I think a lot of the time, like, fear comes into this.
Fear of what, though?
I don't know, whatever it is. Fear of, like, losing, like you said. Like, fear of losing or being hurt, or the attachment, or losing an autonomy, or, I don't know. A lot of these... So then that fear prevents that sort of real, like,
I agree with that.
Dissolving of the ego.
But you've spoken a lot about how, there are like infinite births taking place within us, infinite rebirths. Like, we're constantly changing who we are, and constantly becoming a different person, constantly living in a state of flux, right?
Yeah.
Where we become different people constantly. So why do we need to fall in love to do that? Because you're saying when you fall in love, you deconstruct and you have the dissolution of the ego. But you've also said in the past that one can achieve that state without falling in love.
Yeah.
Like, we're just going through that anyway.
Well, no. There's kind of a physical state of being, or like laws that govern the universe, which is like maybe this impermanence idea, and then there's like levels in which degrees to which you are in harmony with this notion, right? And I think if you're like kind of really in harmony with this notion, then maybe that could be like this idea of like love or dissolution of the ego and stuff like this. And I think they're all kind of coming together, like this, accepting a sort of reality of time, or accepting the reality of the self, and accepting like the beauty of an other. They're all kind of linked to this idea of like understanding us as individuals within the as like connected and within the context of a like omnipresent whole.
Okay. No, I think I agree with that sentiment. But I don't know if there's much to add to that. Like, it seems to be a very finite definition of love, using the infinite space and using God. It doesn't seem to be much wiggle room. It doesn't seem like... It seems like you agree with this very strongly.
Well, no, I think it's also nonsense. I also think it's complete bullshit. Because the thing is, like, the notion of love is such an ineffable thing, and that's why it's so great. And that's why we've got the word that we use. We use love so much for so many things, and why we use the word, because we don't know what the fuck it is. We just know this feels kind of cool, and let's call it love.
But we've diluted it to such a point, right? Because we use it for everything. Like, I love tea, I love cake, I love... Like, we overuse it.
Yeah, we do, but then there's like, when it comes to like these grand experiences that we also call love, we say love because we just don't know what it is. We can't say,
but
anything precise.
Do we still use the word love though when we want to be that grandiose?
Yeah, we do. I guess maybe that's the problem, because you can't decipher it. When you say, I love my girlfriend, and it was like,
do you love her like the way we love tea, or do you love her like in the way that you can't imagine yourself without her? So how do I differentiate?
I can't live without tea, though.
Yeah, that's very true. But maybe we should be looking at different ways to express our love, right?
Yeah, sure. So how's that like?
Well, I mean, I'm not saying big romantic gestures and stuff like that, but I'm saying maybe different words that we could use.
Like I heart you,
or I adore you, maybe, or. But I feel like
That's like
putting someone on a pedestal, though, isn't that? So maybe there is no other word than love, right?
But I quite like that then. So like, I don't know, I have a weird sort of relationship with the word love because I kind of think it's like cheesy and horrible and it's also been overused. But then I think there's like within that word, there's like some purity. There's this ideal. There's this like existential ideal. There's this romantic ideal. There's this really like very pure poetic. And I've kind of got closer to that like enjoying that cliche recently and like bringing it into like.
But how can there be that purity and that like pure essence if you're just using it that much? If you've already said I love X, Y, and Z 10 times that day, how, when you really want to say it in its purest form, will it ever mean anything?
Well, because you go by the energy and the context rather than just the word.
And love is the only word that does that.
No, I think you can say something else with the same. It's more, I think, a lot to do with the energy and the intention and like how it's. You can say I love you, and your girlfriend won't like make anything of it. But you could say I love you, and she'll freak out, and she's like, I'm not ready for this. Right?
Spoken from true experience.
True experience. How do you know this is my experience?
But I just think, okay, fine. But then, so when we have like normal friends come up to us and say that they're in love.
Wait. I'll stop you there. We don't have normal.
We don't have any normal friends. Yeah, no, that's true. But what about when people in movies are talking about love, for example, and they're saying, or even poets, because so many people have tried to define love. Do you think that they're all referring to that infinite space?
No, I don't think so. I think they're referring to that like horrible gut feeling that makes you want to vomit. Right? But so I don't know. So I had this idea. I think I told you this idea of the like. So love has always been like this idea of like individual love is initially on a philosophical level really like puzzled me, and I managed to conflate it with this notion of the infinite and stuff. But it really puzzled me that it was like, why would we love one person? It just doesn't seem right. Like we should be loving everyone and everything, and we should be in harmony with everyone. But then I had this kind of idea that like started perceiving myself like I just like looked from above the world and imagined I was God. As like, well, I mean, this happens regularly.
As you do on a daily basis.
Obviously. But like, so if we were to like live above and we just like look down on the world and we sort of say, from a very like practical kind of economic point of view, it's like, so I need harmony in this place, right? In this ecology thing that I've made in 7 days. And how are we going to do that? Like, how should we try and do this? We want everybody to be loved, right?
Yeah.
So then the actual, like, one of the most practical ways of doing that is just assuring that one person loves one other person, right? And so if each person loves another person, then everybody will be loved and everybody will experience love and have that sort of, that sharing, that giving, that whatever, all that, like, joy will exist to everyone, rather than having to get everyone to love everyone and, like, as God, I've got to throw loads of love down there, right?
That actually makes a lot of sense. I feel like we should have started with that statement.
We should have started with that statement.
It's a very profound statement.
Also, we don't really believe in God, right? So
yeah. It's an even more profound statement.
More important. Okay, so I actually I found a poem that I wrote like after I told somebody I love them on the phone, but I just said it like at the end of the call and then put down the phone, so I got no response. And then I was sort of left in this kind of, unknown abyss because she'd never like said anything back, but I never really gave her the space to say anything back, and it wasn't.
Well, why did you hang up the phone so quickly? Was that like a natural reaction? Was it the
I don't know. It was just like the end. I was just like, okay, bye, I love you. And then...
So do you think it meant to come out?
Yeah, I don't know. It just came out naturally. And then I was like, I don't even know if I love her. Do I love her? But then I felt like really, and I think a lot of us have this kind of feeling that you will say something and then there's that...
It exists in the space, right?
It exists in the space.
And you can't take it back.
Yeah, and you don't know what it's...
Did you get a message from her, or did you message her, or was there just a complete uncertainty and unknown?
Actually, it was. This wasn't even with a girl. It was like with a friend.
Oh, that makes it even much more interesting.
Yeah,
but a friend that's open emotionally, or
maybe she was a girl, but It was
not
like
in a
yeah, but it was
relationship,
like weird because we hadn't spent much time together.